Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have you set up in our spare bedroom, so like our guest room that we've actually been cleaning out. So that's why you can see like a random TV right here and boxes of stuff that we've started packing. Just to give you guys a little life update, Allie and I are working on deep cleaning our home. What are you doing up there? What are you doing, baby? But I wanted to hop on here and talk about, I guess, my budget journey. About a month ago, I realized that I was really tired of living paycheck to paycheck, and I have quite a bit of credit card debt that I would like to get rid of. On top of that, since Allie and I are planning on moving, we're trying to save up for that, as well as a wedding. So I just quickly realized that there were a lot of big financial goals that I wasn't going to be able to hit unless I made a budget. My goal is not to be rich, although obviously, it would be nice to be rich, but my goal is to not overdraft my accounts anymore, get rid of my credit card debt, and be able to save money. And right now, with no system in place, I'm not able to do that. So I wanted to put together a system that allowed me to still pay all of my bills and save up money and still feel like I'm not in the negatives, I'm in the green. So I've set some goals, but I'm taking baby steps. I'm learning that that's what works for me, and that's what I've kind of researched works for other people. So my first goal was to start creating a strict budget for each of my paychecks. So I get paid bi-weekly, and while I'm not a salary worker, I'm an hourly worker, my hours are the same every week. And so I know that my paycheck is going to be the same every single 2 weeks. So that was step one. And I've already done that, and I'm going to go over that as well. My next step was to see where I could cut my expenses and hopefully have a little more cash at the end of each paycheck. Then I wanted to start doing something called cash stuffing. I have one checking account, one savings account, and 4 credit cards. Now, my credit cards range in the debt that they have. So for example, my longest standing credit card is with Wells Fargo, and that has the most debt on it. My second one is one through Best Buy that has the second amount of debt, the highest amount of debt. And then my third one is a Care credit card that I got when one of our cats ended up getting hurt really bad, and it was kind of buddy, I want to help you, but you're not really letting me help you. And so that one is for medical for both myself and the animals. Most recently, I had to get some extensive dental work done, and so that's what that credit card would be used for an unexpected cosmetic procedure, I guess. And I have a very strict payment plan for that one. So I'm not necessarily taking that into account with my debt because I've already got that plan figured out. And that plan was put in place when I used the credit card. And then my fourth one is Victoria's Secret, which very rarely gets used. It currently has no balance on it, and I don't take that into account unless it's something that I actually use. So once I take care of my debt and get on a good plan, I want to build up my savings account. I know that there are a lot of different ways to do this, but I ideally would like to have $1,000 in my savings. That would make me feel most comfortable. And so that is a goal that I've set for myself as well. And then ideally, I'd like to pay off all of my credit card debt, and then Allie and I want to save up a certain sum of money for moving costs and wedding as well. But we'd like to make moving a priority first. So that's what I'm working towards. And now this is kind of how I started. So I just started asking people what they were doing for their budgets and starting to look at not necessarily my bank statements, but like my bills. I did try to use an app that connected to my bank account that said, okay, you're spending X dollars on gas, X dollars on groceries, and I didn't feel that that was helpful. It was a little overwhelming. So that's why I kind of wanted to go to a handwritten system and a cash envelope system. So the first thing I did was figure out a budget, and I wrote down all of the bills that I have to pay before anything else. So that includes like rent, my car insurance, I have a loan payment. After I took that all into account, I added it up, and then I took a look at my credit card payments and looked at the minimum payments and what I would ideally like to pay. And then I took what was left over and I split it into 4 categories. So gas, groceries, pets, and savings. Now, this was a little ambitious for me. I realized when I got my first paycheck after I made this budget that pets didn't need to be a monthly envelope. And I'll explain kind of where I put it later, but I ended up putting it in my sinking funds. So that's what I started with, and I was able to see what my bills were each month and what my income was and what I could do. So I started with a couple cash envelopes that I would take with me everywhere. So they sit in my wallet and I use them, if I'm running errands, I need that money. So that's what I did the first week. I created my budget and then I created my envelopes. Now I'm creating sinking funds. So that's what this is. If you're familiar with budgeting videos already, you probably see people who prop their camera up above them and you get to see their table, and they stuff their envelopes and they're like laminated and really beautiful. So I decided I didn't need to spend $60 on Etsy for really cute envelopes for all of my sinking funds. And so I made my own. If you're not familiar with what a sinking fund is, the difference between a sinking fund and an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is for like a scary medical expense. If one of your animals gets sick, if you have a child and something happens to your child, like those are emergencies. Your sinking funds are payments that you're gonna have to make in the future, and so you start saving up for them well in advance. I have one for household items. I have one for my car maintenance. I created one for concerts because Allie and I are going to a couple concerts this year, and I would like to have a little bit of cash for us to get drinks, and if we want to buy merch, that's something that's important to me, and so I wanted to budget accordingly. I have one for travel. Hello? I have one for travel because most of my family lives on the East Coast, and I would like to travel with Allie for holidays. This is where I decided to create one for savings. I do have a savings account, but I would like to start putting it in cash first. I created one for our wedding. And then one for gifts. You'll see a lot of people who have one for Christmas. I just made one for gifts in general because I really enjoy giving people gifts. And so not only on Christmas, I want to make sure, I can give Allie a nice Valentine's Day gift or a birthday gift. Same thing for like my sister or my parents. I want to make sure I've already budgeted that. So these envelopes will get stuffed every 2 weeks, but it's just little tiny amounts. And so for example, on the back, I've written a little tracker, so the date, the amount that I put in, and the total that's in the actual envelope. These envelopes will not go with me everywhere. These will stay locked up at home, and they will have cash in them. And eventually, I did make one for like a debt snowball. My savings and debt snowball all empty out every once in a while. That way I can start paying off debt and have money in my savings account that's linked to my debit card. So just to kind of explain to you how I set these up, with gifts, I want to save $500 by Christmas. I want to have $500 in here to be able to buy nice Christmas presents for my family and my friends. That means that I have 10 months until Christmas, and that means if I want to hit $500 by December, I need to set aside $50 a month. Now, I usually get 2 paychecks each month. Sometimes I get 3, depending on how the Fridays fall, but usually it's 2, so I'm just budgeting for 2. That means $25 from each of my paychecks should go into this envelope. So that takes care of my budget and then my sinking funds, so I'm not hit with, when my car registration is up or, I have to replace something on my car, I've already got money saved up. I know eventually I'm going to have to make payments like that, and so the whole point of a sinking fund is to make sure the money is already there. Now the next thing I had to tackle was my debt, and this was not a fun experience. I still am not feeling great about it, to be completely honest. I met with a financial planner at my bank this morning, which is why I have a blazer on, because I wanted to look kind of professional, to figure out what I can contribute to my debt each month that actually helped me get it down to a point where interest wasn't killing me. Because right now, my biggest issue is interest. So I would recommend meeting with a financial planner if you can. For example, I bank at Wells Fargo, so I was able to sit down for 2 hours with the branch manager and then one of her, I don't think it would be considered a bank teller, but a banker maybe, sit down and figure out what my finances look like, what my expenses look like, and how to best tackle all of my debt. Now, sometimes that means taking out a loan, sometimes that means, and that loan would be for debt consolidation, sometimes that means, figuring out what to pay first. I know a lot of people follow, I think it's David Ramsey, this like snowball effect, which is great. But just kind of sitting down and talking through it all and creating a plan is great. I was able to do that today, and I left understanding where my money is going and where it should be going, essentially. I also was able to see that one of our big financial goals, which is to save up to move, is doable in the amount of time that we want to do it. So I would encourage that. Don't be surprised if you feel overwhelmed. Even with my 2 notebooks and my sinking funds and everything that I had already planned, I still sat there feeling very overwhelmed. It's really hard to talk about money, I know that, but doing it just kind of gets it out on the table and you can see what you can do. I have decided to meet with the branch manager of the bank every month until I start making some headway. And that kind of gives me accountability. So I know that I am going to go in a month and have to say, okay, I did stick to my budget or I didn't. Here's what I spent my money on. I mean, to be honest, since I'm doing it at my bank, they can see when I use my debit card, they can see where my money goes. And so that feeling of like guilt, like, oh, they're going to see that I spent $30 at McDonald's, like that encourages me not to do it. If you don't want to go meet with a financial planner, there are tons of YouTube videos. There are tons of people on Instagram that are like financial accounts that can give you advice and tips. I will list some in the description below. That way you can kind of have a starting point on who to look at. One thing that Allie and I are doing, because we're already planning on moving, is we're selling our things. We're selling the things we're not taking with us. We're selling the things that we're not using. And that's extra money. That's extra money that we put in savings for our X amount of money that we want when we're ready to move. Take stock of everything in your house or your apartment or wherever you are and see what you can live without and when you can't. If you can sell it, sell it. If you can't, donate it. I think donating is equally as good, not only because you're actually donating and helping someone else, but also if I'm going to donate $1,000 worth of clothes, I'm not making any money off of that. I spent $1,000, I invested in $1,000 worth of clothes, and now they're not mine anymore. I'm out $1,000. I didn't make any money back. And so that kind of almost guilt is motivation enough to not purchase them again. For example, I am trying to sell my Apple Watch because on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, I saw that it was on sale and felt that that is what I needed. That is what I had to spend my money on. And now I wear it. I won't lie. I'll put it on my wrist, but I very rarely actually utilize the features. And so I need to get rid of it. I need to sell it if I can. I need to just not keep it because I'm not using it. It was an impulse purchase and now I'm out X amount of dollars unless I can sell it. Just keep that in mind. See where you can make some extra money. We have our own little side hustle that we do together with DoorDash, and that brings in some money. When we get money from parents or family members for holidays, like I put mine into savings if I can. I put it towards debt. For example, I just got a check for Valentine's Day from a family member, and that's wonderful. I can keep that money and, go out on a fancy dinner or buy something for myself, or I could pay off a debt and not have to worry anymore, and my credit score will go up. So that's kind of where my budget journey is starting. First thing is an actual budget, and second thing is cash envelopes, so I'm not using my debit card and I'm not getting overdraft fees. Third, making sure that I have sinking funds, so I start saving for the things that I know I'll have to pay for. And then fourth, starting to save and starting to pay off debt and working with somebody who can help me with that. Hopefully this was helpful if you were trying to start your budget journey. Thanks for listening. My next budget video is actually going to be taking the money from my paycheck and filling up some of these envelopes and distributing my money where it needs to go and taking you guys along on that journey. So I hope you liked this video. Hopefully it was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.